It's always hard to know which projects are gonna suddenly come to life out of nowhere.
1, 2, or 1, 2, 3.
So my name is Olov Burman. I come from an animator's background. What gets my gears turning is to come up with a way of animating that I have never done before and that I have never seen done before.
The people that rig your characters, did they ever freak out with your request?
The food thief, that's a rig that's made the rounds on the internet. They were definitely struggling with that one.
The Tenacious D project, there's something about it that feels very you.
I think he kind of wanted the style he kind of saw on my Instagram, so I think that's why you recognize the style. That was when Cartoon Network contacted us.
Oh really?
They gave us like a lot of creative freedom. Our homepage immediately crashed.
Hey Olov, welcome to the VFX Process.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Can you just start off, Olov, by giving us your name and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Olov Burman. I work in my own company as a director, mainly. I come from an animator's background. I come from a stop motion and 2D background, but that was many years ago. And then I kind of work with a network of artists around the world to build the teams.
You started off, am I right in saying you was around 12 years old?
Yeah, no, I started very young. I was, even in kindergarten, the teacher called my parents because I would only sit and draw instead of talking to the other kids. So I always loved to draw a lot. And then when I was, around 12 years old, I think they have a little culture. It's called the culture house in Sweden, where they have libraries so kids can try out stuff. And they had this little stop motion thing set up where you could move around bits of clay. And yeah, I remember it to this day, the first time I saw those little bits of clay move, it's really was something that's really grabbed my attention.
You transitioned into the 3D world and you were setting up a company from an early age.
Yeah, I'm a little bit too early, perhaps. When I look at it in retrospect, I could definitely have used a few years of actual work experience before starting my first company, but yeah.
You want to just have fun, you want to create projects. There's something kind of nice and refreshing about that, rather than being too scared to do something.
Sometimes it's all about taking that leap, and you might step on a lot of landmines when you're young and naive.
You live and you learn, and you'll only step on a landmine once.
Yeah.
Because you won't want to make that mistake again.
Yeah, no, you learn a lot from those kind of mistakes. So
you kind of stepped to the side to become more of a creative director, an actual animation director, alongside your companies. Is that still how it is for you now?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey there. I studied stop motion and 2D animation for 2 years in university. With the people I met there, I started a stop motion company, and then I was studying 3D animation at the same time. I switched over and started another company called Mindbender, where I was for 12 years. So now I have my own company, it's just a one-person company. I have quite a good network of artists around the world that I have worked with over the decades of doing this. Quite often, when a client comes to me, it's also to put together a team for a specific project. So,
what made you go from the stop motion into the CG world? What was that transition like for you back then?
Yeah, you just had more opportunity in the 3D world. I felt these days I would love to get back into stop motion. The big difference is with 3D, I just need my laptop and that's it. With doing stop motion, you become so much more location dependent, and it's hard to pack your bags and go work from
Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand in this case.
That makes complete sense. And what's really nice about your work, Olov, you obviously still have that stop motion feel to a lot of your work. The textures, the movement, the style, the feel.
I mean, stop motion is very close to my heart since it's my background, and that's kind of the visual style that I love to bring into 3D. I think my favorite movie is Nightmare Before Christmas. I love that kind of visual style, and to just try and get that as much as possible into 3D is its own challenge.
Your character designs and the way that they move, you start with sketches.
Yeah, start on paper, and then as I need to be more exact and detailed, I jump over to sketching on a pad. But yeah, it always starts with rough sketches on a paper.
And I imagine the pen that you've got in your hand.
Yeah, I always have it with me.
Is it right that you use those colours for the layers of the animation?
Yeah, it's very good. Especially when you do a bit of like strange movements. When I plan out the animation, it's really good to have the different colors. I can give like one leg, one color, and then like keep track on everything like that. So that's why I like these kind of pens.
When you're taking that across into the 3D world, do you have to then start to break it down and say, how are we actually going to do that rig, or how are we actually going to create that?
Yeah, so that's where like 2D animatics comes in. I'm a big fan of 2D animatics. That's really where how I figure out how things are going to move. If you want a character to do something very like out of the box, like that you can't really do with a 3D character usually, you have to know that in like the animatic stage already, because it has to go into first like the 3D modeling of the character. We need to know what the geometry needs to be able to do, and then it needs to go through the rigging so that we can give the rig all the functions it's gonna need for that specific movement. So we couldn't do this style of animation without very detailed 2D animatics.
Because your style of animation is, it's not weird, but it is kind of
no, that's a good word.
weird animations, weird character movements, transitions. One in particular that I love is the rabbit that's kind of like looping animation where the legs become the ears.
What really drives me and kind of gets my gears turning is like to come up with a way of animating that I have never done before and that I have never seen done before, and kind of push into that like unknown experimental approach.
The people that rig your characters, Olov, are they people that you reuse all the time, and do they know the Olov requirements?
Yeah, I work mainly with a studio called Keep Case, a Brazilian rigging studio, and we've been working for a very long time. So yeah, at this point they're very good at kind of knowing what I want and like how to work with this style. We built one rig for the cat character, the food thief. That's a rig that's made the rounds on the internet quite a bit, and so that's their work, for example. I think that's what defines like a really good rigger, to kind of understand what the animators are going to need.
Definitely, it needs that understanding of other departments.
Yeah.
Did they ever freak out with your requests?
Yeah, we had some. Yeah, during the cat rig, that was very... In hindsight, it was like a too tricky rig. It could have been designed a lot simpler, but yeah, they were definitely struggling with that one. So
this is a personal project of yours that's like a short that you're working on called The Food Thief.
Goes back a very long time. This cat character, I think it was like around like 2010, like 14 years ago now, that I started like working on a short film while I was at Mindbender, and we decided that we wanted to do like an animation test with one of the characters and one of the environments from the short film. We decided on the cat, and then we thought like we'll just do like a quick little animation test and see what we can do, and it kind of snowballed a bit, so that little animation test turned into this 1.5 minute short film with a cat. And we did like a lot of technical experimentation. We did like 3D scanning for the environments and built a rig in like new ways that we haven't done before, and like experimented with like new animation techniques. So it was a lot like new things to learn there. Yeah, so Mindbender is still up and running and doing great. So that short film got put on ice for a while, up until pretty recently, like a few months back, because people were like reaching out to me and saying like, when are you gonna finish this film? And yeah, I kept hearing it like almost every day on different social medias and stuff. So that eventually I was like, okay, let's do it. And I kind of reached out to everyone in the old team, and they were like, everyone kind of wanted to finish it. So now it's back in production.
Nice. That's great to hear. That's the thing with the social media world. When you put something out that the fans want to see, once they've had a look at it, they want more. Yeah. They want more.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, for good and bad, I guess. Like, it's eventually pushed me to take the initiative and actually finish it.
What kind of team size are on it currently? I know it's, in between, free time and things.
7-8 people, something like that. Very amazing team. Like, it's really the best artists in the world. So it's
brilliant.
I don't want to like force them to work for almost no budget either. It's like whenever you guys like have some free time, I'm super appreciative that they want to work on it.
Are they all fetching it from a server? Are they accessing like physical machines?
Yeah, I pretty much always work towards a Dropbox or a Google Drive folder, and everyone is kind of connected to that.
Great time to kind of be working on projects, and you can be anywhere in the world and working together.
Yeah, no, it's great. But yeah, I can imagine it might be a little bit different for you if you work with like huge companies. Like it might be a little bit more risk of leaking things. I guess you guys might have to be a bit more careful about it. You don't want to like end up on the wrong side of those contracts with things leaking, I can imagine.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Talking of contracts and big companies and things like that, can we just circle back briefly to one of the big clients that you approached?
Yeah.
Was in fact Cartoon Network, and you ended up creating those kind of little bumper animations in between shows.
Yeah.
What was that like as a new small company? I'm sure that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, that's really like our breakthrough project, you could say.
The duplicators, was it?
No, it's actually, so this is how it started, like from the very beginning. Actually, while I was still a stop motion animator, after finishing my contract, I did like, okay, I just want to do my own little thing. So I did like a 1.5 minute short with a little girl opening Christmas present in claymation. And then I kind of designed it in such a way that I could like place any logo type at the end of it, and that kind of were just in the drawer after that for a while. And we started Mindbender, and at Mindbender was where we did like the first test in 3D with this animation style. So we did like a little rabbit, then we kind of implemented all these animation techniques that I had like kind of been thinking about while doing my stop motion animations. And that's kind of when Mindbender took off. We put that online, and I remember like our homepage immediately crashed because it like got so much attention, that little film with the rabbit. And we had been trying to get work from like the local gyms and like just smaller clients.
Sure.
Yeah, we were also trying to finish our student short film at that stage. That was when Cartoon Network contacted us about the little rabbit. I think like at first they were asking us, would you be interested in like pitching for a TV series? But I had this little film laying in my drawer. So I was like, hey, maybe you want to show this as like a Christmas, it has a Christmas theme. So I showed them that film, and they were like, yeah, we'll buy it from you and use like for our Christmas bumper. And so yeah, we just put the Cartoon Network logo at the end there of that film, and that became like their Christmas bumper for the year. And at the same time, parallel to us selling that stop motion film, we were actually looking to do something more with this animation style that we had developed with the little rabbit. So they never asked us to present any bumpers or something like that, but because we had already like sold a bumper to them, I think that's why we thought like we'll continue on this track and make like something a lot small, like shorter format, but where we can still really push our vision for it. So yeah, I wrote all the little duplicator series. It's 5 films, I think. Little red characters in that animation style. I think we presented the pirate film and the duplicator film at the same time, and then we had a few others also. And at that stage they said like, yeah, can we do something with these little red guys? The good part was that they gave us like a lot of creative freedom.
That's good.
Whatever time we wanted. So I think we worked like for a year on those or something like that.
Oh really? Was there no deadline at all?
I think we had a deadline, but we kept like calling them and like telling them that we weren't gonna make it, and they were not like really getting angry with us, so we just kept postponing our own deadlines. So
that's good. Was there ever a call for we've run out of money, or was it?
That's the thing. Like we had like no money like whatsoever. So there was like super low budget. So, like for what we were trying to achieve, like the budget was like nothing. So
but was the passion that's driving you to get these done? It's not just the financial side. It's like we love doing this.
It cost us so much money, and like we were super broke at the time, but we just crunched it out like 16-hour work days, and just like for a year pretty much just getting them done, and then that like created like a lot of buzz after that, so it definitely repaid itself in like commercial jobs and stuff like that. After that we kind of reconnected to the pirate film that we had already like pitched them a year earlier, and we were like, hey, maybe we should do this one. And yeah, it was kind of the same deal, like creative freedom,
nice.
the time we needed, but also still a little bit more money, but still like very little money. So
the passion, the love of animation, like it outweighs obviously you want to get paid, but the love and passion for what you do and your craft really just takes over, and you can't help at times but work 16-hour days. I know you've got to get the project complete,
Yeah.
but there's just something that drives you because you love doing it. What is it for you that it's like, oh, this idea, let's develop it further?
Yeah, I guess it's just like question of passion. Like, what do I feel passionate about? And it's also so often like projects, like I kind of develop an idea, like, and then it ends up in the drawer for like 10 years. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a little project now that it's actually pretty funny now that I think about it. It was actually one of the first concepts that we presented to Cartoon Network along with the little duplicators, and it's just been in the drawer for like 14-15 years. And every now and then, like when someone asks for an idea or something, I might pick up one of those ideas and like show them or send them in. And so yeah, there was like one job now, like where they kind of asked for an idea, like, hey, do you want to do something for this? And I was like, yeah, sure. It's like my old
Here's like, I've got a full folder.
yeah,
of this
exactly.
idea,
You just like end up with like a folder after like doing this for so long. There's just a bunch of ideas that's like, most of them are never gonna happen, but now and then it's just like there's just something that matches, and it's always hard to know which projects are gonna suddenly come to life out of nowhere.
What's the actual process? So you start off sketching, do you start writing something, or is it just a very much a visual thing, like developing a character and an environment, or do you naturally, as an animation director, want to attach a story to bring these to life?
My fascination comes more from like creating characters and worlds. Yeah, you can't really draw a character and a world without like there being some sort of story there. So but it kind of grows from the visual for me. Like that's my biggest passion, to create the characters and the movements and the environments. But yeah, then I've been learning more and more about like storytelling, and I was studying like feature film script writing for a bit, just learning like that process. But yeah, it doesn't really come natural for me, like the writing part of it. I'm very like visual, so all the stories like come out visually, like as little doodles. I always have to like force myself to put it into text. It's not intuitive.
You do naturally build the world it exists in, so that's where stories and ideas can come from. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. It's quite often like, yeah, you draw two little characters and you kind of start to think about what their relationships are, and I found it really interesting how like a very simple image can tell like a bigger story with like very simple means, and doing it without like dialogue, just like everything visual is kind of what I prefer, the way I prefer to work.
Yeah, if you can tell, if you can understand the story just through images with no sound and dialogue, then you know that visually anybody can, take it on board and understand it, rather than letting the dialogue drive the story. So visual storytelling is a very powerful thing.
I guess you work a lot with like the previs also, right?
Yeah, and it's all about story and bringing the director's vision to life.
I feel that you save so much time and money, like especially working with clients, it gets even more important to like, okay, this is the stage where we're gonna go back and forward until you like tried everything that you can think about, and then we're gonna decide, and then like, yeah, it's really helpful to set that time aside to really work things through and be willing to throw things away so that you don't have to do it later on.
Talking of clients and planning, the Tenacious D project. Now, I know that you were brought on to that project a bit later in the production. Interesting, like the style of elements of that music video. There's something about it that feels very you. So how did that actually come about, and were you involved at all at the start?
It started with Chris O'Neill, who's like a well-known streamer that's friends with Jack Black. Jack Black contacted Chris O'Neill because Chris makes animations, and Chris O'Neill contacted Adam Paloyan, who's director at Nickelodeon. He does a lot of SpongeBob and Cuphead and those things. So together, like those two made the storyboards. And that was when Adam started to look around for artists. So he actually just wrote me on Instagram. At first, he was just looking like, asking me like, do you want to like animate the shot for this? And I took a look at the project and thought like, this is a really cool project. So that's when I like offered to take the animation director role for it and kind of assemble my team for the animation side of things. I came in when the rigs were like half done, and so yeah, I think he kind of wanted the style he kind of saw on my Instagram. So I think that's why you recognize the style. And almost all the jobs I get is like from a project where they have like used my animations as a reference.
As an animation director, did you have to kind of work with what the rigs could already do, or could you still ask the rigs to change to do something else, you know?
Yeah, we always have to do a lot of changes, even during animation. I do a lot of rig supervising. I kind of have to make sure that they can do what they need to do in the animation. And then it's like even with really experienced riggers, like until the animators has actually gotten their hand on it, like the rig is never finished until it has been tested in actual animation. It's always going to come back like a whole bunch of requests from the animators. Of course, you do like little test animations and stuff, but it's always going to be many things that you find in very specific situations where you run into limitations of the rig that you can't really predict beforehand. So
definitely, it's like you have to really battle test it and experience it on the battlefield whilst understanding what it can do.
And even like sometimes reaching even to the polish stage, like the last stage, like that's also where you might want to like, okay, I just want to make these little like super small changes, but just to really nail the pose. And so we might even get back to the riggers like in the polish stage of the animation to get those really last finishes in there.
Just when they think their job's done.
Yeah.
The shot for me that is really funny is where where Jack Black kind of comes up to the camera and there's more detail and it's a change of style.
Yeah, that's also Adam Paloyan that came up with that. So like I said, he worked so much on SpongeBob and so he has that kind of same visual language in a lot of ways. And yeah, that it was just up to me to make it work in animation. We work quite a lot with like switching out the rigs, like if a character needs to do something and it's like a huge difference, then we would have one rig and we do like a quick movement, and in the middle of the movement we switch out the rigs. It's just like one frame. We try to get as close as possible.
And that's what happens with a lot of your work anyway, isn't it? Like things are hidden in the movement and the transitions and then the way that the rigs animate. There's a lot of like, not trickery, but your eye is tricked to read a smooth movement, but it's a complete kind of hack or a switch.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of things I love. It's like little Easter eggs that you kind of like, you just felt that something strange happened, but like you can't really quite often like really see it. And that's also like quite fun for me as an like animation nerd to kind of that loves to go frame by frame. And I know that the other animation nerds out there are gonna like be going frame by frame and figuring it out. So it's kind of like a little Easter egg for them also, and hopefully like the people that's not animating themselves like can kind of, you get a feeling that it's a bit different than what you usually see and kind of grabs your attention a little bit extra that way. So but yeah, I love to hide those little strange things in my animation for sure.
Was there any moments on the music video that were very challenging?
Basically just like we had a very short time to make everything.
Really?
So that was the hard part. And I think like it's so many characters and it's always new environments. I think we had like 18 rigs or something like that. We were like 6-7 animators, something like that in total, and like getting flooded with like animation like requests from the animators, and like riggers were like struggling with 18 rigs and just trying to get that done. And it's,
oh my.
So I kind of had to constantly tell the animators to kind of try and work around the problems and wait for rig updates.
Oh man, that's stressful thinking of a time constraint in mind.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it was mainly because we had so limited time to work on it.
How involved was Jack Black and Kyle with this, with the animation? And did you ever kind of have to have meetings with them, and how much input did they have into the music videos, visuals? I imagine they loved it.
Yeah,
and they would found it hilarious.
In the animation process, not at all. Pretty much like gave the team like free reins on it. So I'm sure they had to approve like the storyboards in just before I came in, but after that it was just complete freedom.
And I know that you do a lot of like now social media, you post like breakdowns of workflows, feeding it out into the world in small bits of content. What kind of response do you get from fans? Yeah,
I've been having really good response on social media lately. So yeah, what I always try to do is like I start to think about it already when I do a project, that I'm gonna have like almost for each different shot, like I would have like a few different social media posts. I might do one with like the animatic and one for the rig and one with like an alternative camera angle, and just keep stacking up those as I work to kind of keep the social media fed with that. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of work at the moment, like figuring out how I can use social media in order to get to do more of my own passion projects. And I'm moving away more from, I'm trying to move more towards like being able to monetize my passion projects rather than to always have to go back to commercials.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I guess when a project like this pops up, it's hard to say no. It's very similar to, you know, what you mentioned earlier, where you kind of work on these projects and then it attracts bigger paid, like more corporate projects, and then you get the downtime to work on passion projects, and then it cycles back to a larger project.
Yeah, I would still consider Tenacious D a passion project. It would be in that category, so for sure.
Yeah, you would work on that just for the love of it, I'm sure, because it's an amazing project.
Yeah.
But it's great that they saw your presence and work on social media, so they already know your style, they know your work, and can be like, can we have some of that Olov Burman magic in our project? How was you balancing like life and projects back then, and how does that differ to what it's like now?
These days when I have my own studio and I'm like, I just need to make sure that I have enough to kind of do the things I want, it's a lot easier.
Sure.
Right now I'm in Thailand, and I don't really take on longer projects so much. It's usually like 1 or 2 months, 3 months where I kind of have to work a lot, but then I can take a lot of time in between projects to kind of just take time off. I guess like when I was younger, I wouldn't really take that time in between to recharge and do other things. That's, I think, also getting older, like you can't really like go that fast anymore. You gotta look after your health a bit more and your well-being.
Definitely. I guess you don't really know what burnout is until later on when it really hits.
Yeah, also I guess you've experienced it also, or people you work with, I think everyone in this industry, like sooner or later they push themselves a bit too hard and get that burnout moment and kind of have to rethink how they do things.
100%. A lot of people can relate to that. What do you actually do to kind of separate you from your work?
Yeah, I go to the gym and stuff like that. It's also a bit of a like hippie community here in Koh Phangan. So this weekend I'm taking like a long weekend, for example, and going out into like a little hippie community in the jungle and just do yoga and meditation and all
No
those
laptop.
things. No laptop this weekend. So yeah, stuff like that. Like
That's nice.
yeah, meditation I find is a great thing to do, and yeah, just being in nature. And
I guess that really helps when you come back to the workplace and get stuck in. You really feel refreshed mentally, and it's kind of like a reset.
Yeah, I think like after I like had that like so many years of like a work crunch, I remember like taking 6 months or something and not working at all for a while, and just like picking up that pen again and doing it like not at all for like money or for like impressing anyone, and it's just like such a different quality that comes into like the stories and the animation, like when it comes from that place of like genuinely just wanting to create something for yourself. So I think it's very important creatively to allow yourself to be bored sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the like creative ideas come from, like out of boredom. People can hit walls and kind of overthink it and like, I need to create something. But a lot of the time people say you just take a step back, go to the jungle if there's a jungle nearby,
exactly.
and then just switch off, let it come more naturally and less stressful, and these ideas can flourish.
But yeah, it can be hard when you've been in that workaround for a long time to kind of force yourself to drop it and see what comes naturally.
What is the future for Food Thief? When is it coming out? Imagine all the people in the world on your socials are asking for the final 12-minute short film.
Yeah, we'll see. Probably the Food Thief is closer. That's a 1.5 minute film. And,
the 1.5 minute.
Yeah. So the other one is called Harry Gold. It's like the 12 minute, and that's probably a little bit further into the future. I have a little bit hard time saying exactly right now when it's going to come out.
It's fine. Just trying to get some exclusive information, Olov.
Yeah. We're kind of looking into right now, like how to finance it a bit. So I just set up my own Patreon to kind of start sharing all this information. And we'll see if we'll finance either the food through there, or set up like a separate Kickstarter or GoFundMe perhaps for that one. But yeah, there's a lot of things coming like that, and we'll see how we can bring a little bit of money into it, and that will make it a lot quicker to get it out. So
can we get the GoFundMe or a Patreon page?
I just started it 1 day ago, so yeah, it's very, very fresh. So I'm just starting to like get a few videos and like set up all the tiers and stuff. But yeah, it is online right now. So
any kind of news that you want to mention? What's happening with Olov in the future? Anything to plug?
Yeah, like I said, 2 short films and another in the area of passion projects on the way also, that I'll be sharing a lot more about soon. And yeah, I'm hoping to do more and more of that and make it into something that I can share about the processes much more. That's kind of the dream that I'm working towards.
Thanks, Olov. That's been an absolute pleasure to hang out and talk.
Great talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Olov, thank you so much, and have a great evening, and we'll speak to you very soon, and we wish you all the best with your projects, your animation direction journey.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you. Take care.